yesterday's live stream. We are at 104 subscribers, so that's good. Got to 104 during the live stream, which is even better. And yeah, I forgot a few things. And yeah, basically we're here today doing Alternate Feature of the World, part 32. And I can't believe we're at part 32, but some aggressive Russia exists somehow in this time. Yep. But Hungary helps the Russians. Why do they help the Russians? Because it's for self-gain. And what is the self-gain they get out of this? They get land. And along with the Russians, they started an offensive in the Moldavia region. And this is what quickly becomes of Romania, with Bulgaria just saying, yeah, we want more land. And it becomes known as a partition of Romania, as Romania is killed, with Bulgarian forces coming up and taking Bucharest, while Hungarian forces just slam through. I guess 2250 is probably crazy. I don't know where I am, actually, but we can assume it's like 2250. With Hungary taking a big swath of land, the Russians get a big swath of land, and the Bulgarians. And while Hungary is reestablishing itself, because Europe is weak. And again, why is Europe so weak? Because of the Fourth Reich did it. Which is unfortunate. But now to decolor this. Well, Russia is raising its tensions with the Turks. They don't really trust the Fourth Reich because of history, of trusting Germany. It doesn't go so well. They don't really trust China because China wants to reestablish the Qing dynasty. And they don't really trust the Turks. With East Africa seeing this as a huge opportunity, opening the door to expand. With an annexation war breaking out between the East Africa and Zambia, which the world says you can't do this, but you know what they say? Really? Tell us we can't. And they say they're going to unite Africa, basically. But forever. With Zambia eventually saying, fine. They know Zambia once everybody was trillionaires in Zambia, I heard, because inflation got so bad. Now that's something. And they were also pro the East African Federation in our world. And Ethiopia's happy as a part of this, because look how big it is. With the star of the show breaking out, Saudi Arabia and Iran the Arabian Union and Iran break out into a war. Why is this big? Because, well, A, it will help create a thumbnail. B, and C, well, it's interesting. With experts thinking that this war is based on oil. Why do they think that? Because the same spot the Iran-Iraq war was heavily about. Arabia enters. And yeah. Kind of triggers a war, not going to lie. With them saying to withdraw from Iran immediately or face a coalition. Which Saudi Arabia kind of refuses. Saying that they got American support. Which is true. And then this happens. And that happens, kinda. So then Iran's like, hey, guys, in a meeting in Mumbai, they're all like, yeah, we need to start a war now. Which China says, if you guys get involved, I'll make my alliance get involved. Which they say, what? No, we are defending. This is defensive. And Armenia says, yeah, we declare war. And you know who else does? Siberia, Yakutsk. And then China's like, I told you guys. No. And well, America just says, yeah, we don't support either side in this war. We are busy, we are distracted with a rising threat. More important than this. With China starting an advance into Xinjiang. With Yakutsk hardly contributing. And China pushes into Mongolia and Xinjiang. With them trying to enter into Tibet, but kind of only getting here. India trying to invade from Tibet, failing. They enter from Myanmar instead, and they make us kind of push. And they enter into Siam. Which aggressors basically never win in these videos, so you know. But they usually have a lot of success at the beginning if they lose. With China spearhead getting this big, Xinjiang now able to cut Chinese forces off easily. So China expands itself. And this is what its front line looks like. Why so slow? Because nobody is really doing well in deserts. Except Saudi Arabia, of course. Who then goes on to claim that Israel does not belong on the continent, on the Arabian Peninsula. The Levant declares war. But Saudi Arabia invades the Levant. Kind of fails. Now they invade north into Turkey by where Syria used to be in Kurdish regions. With this getting into a big war. But then Saudi Arabia basically says, yeah, we're not giving any oil to the World Treaty Organization. Did I say the United States was backing them? Oops. Yeah, the United States is backing them. What would they even be able to do? The United States of nothing. That's the United States. The California Republic backs them. As they join the World Treaty Organization, they don't back them. And with the world seeing that war is inevitable, Egypt basically says, we declare war because Israel has taken our Sinai Peninsula every war we fight them in. So we declare war on Israel. With Israel saying, what? You just did what, Egypt? You did what, Egypt? My goal now is to Israel bombards all the Air Force into, well, the Sinai Peninsula that they end up whipping through the lands all the way to the Suez Canal. If Europe decentralized, with Turkey starting a counteroffensive in the Syria front, which is a success. But Saudi Arabia continues its plans north in this area, re-establishing its front lines, with Qatar being taken out as it's a threat. And them invading Iran. Why do we not have here? See? Because, well, do we really need see Asia? There's not really going to be naval landings. Maybe in the Strait of Malacca. Who still has some weird colors. Well, they also have these regular colors. East Timor is part of this war. But China does see some major success as they push into Mongolia. And I guess they will. One cuts Mongolia in two. But Xinjiang takes this time of China being elsewhere to kick China back. Which is successful. And he even manages to do this. But the only problem is, they don't manage to encircle because China continues this. Well, this new front they just started heads towards Ulaanbaatar, which they encircle and take. Mongolia surrenders on paper, but is still fighting in this region. With Mongolia being the first loss of the team. With Chinese forces now headed into Kazakhstan. And yeah. Xinjiang not in a good spot as they're kicked back. But China starts sweeping campaigns south here into Xinjiang. Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan finally unites. Which is recognized. Guys? And so, well, yeah. Well, Xinjiang is pretty much dead. And they're pushing the Tibet widens. But India comes up with a perfect solution. Because China is unable to help Thailand, this kind of goes. They encircle Bangkok and take it. As Siam has two choices, surrender or continue fighting. Which, because Vietnam is always at it, a bunch of Vietnamese people guerrilla fight for the other side. Eventually, Vietnam is in trouble, as their government kind of just is not on the red team. With them having fun as they're north. Hanoi gets taken by Vietnamese guerrilla fighters. As Vietnam eventually just gives up to the guerrilla fighters, which China is infuriated about. As Vietnam has major success in the south. And yeah. Siam now facing a two-front invasion is kind of just capitulates with a lot of the Asian nations in the South China Sea saying enough is enough as they sink into the ocean. What is this? Addis Pro? Really? I'm serious. What is this? Sinking nations? Who sinks nations? Well, a lot of people. Makes a lot of sense, though, if you consider it, but I can't copyright. No, I'm kidding about that. A joke. But I don't like sinking nations, personally. It's not original. You get what I'm saying. As they push back. And yeah, Chinese forces here collapse in Tibet, and their defenses somehow collapse. And India manages to get enough troops across mountains, along with... and now they get more troops across mountains. China getting ready for peace. With all the countries shocked to hear that China just left Mongolia, moved all their forces south. They started a counteroffensive in their territory. They basically say, leave our land and we'll leave the war, and disband our treaty, which is agreed upon by the Allies. They're together. With Saudi Arabia's force being stalled out, but now is starting to turn. Collapsing, which would be this area. Especially when they push them from Qatar. I'm pretty sure most of Saudi Arabia's oil is in this region. And also, there's no oil used at this time, so it's kind of useless. Yeah, that's why Saudi's economy did go bad at some point. Yeah. They say, we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't start the war, you did. But as Egypt leaves, they realize that it's pointless to keep fighting. And a few areas, such as Yemen, Oman, and the UAE, declare independence, which is recognized. And yeah, this is what I'll use to make the treaty. Created a new Iraq that's very stable because it's only over the Sunni majority lands. With Iran being its own still there, Israel makes the Levant bigger. While we have North and South Saudi Arabia, Egypt loses the Sinai Peninsula. I don't know what to do now. Hungary decides to illegally annex Bosnia and Herzegovina, which America has divided again. Seeing a weakened China, Russia sends its forces to annex Manchukuo. Why am I not coloring in all of your islands? Because why should we? With them saying this is a special military operation to protect Korea and protect Russians living in Manchukuo, because there's somehow Russians living in Manchukuo. I assume there probably are, but I don't know. I'm just saying that for the story. As Russian annexation forces swarm into Manchukuo, it's quickly seen that this isn't going to end quick, they think. But Russia manages to do this. And then they start their offensives here in encirclement. Nobody realizing how many forces they had on the border. And now they started into Korea. With China basically unable to defend, they do one thing that is major. They stop the front line here, which makes this a narrow front. So they make it more small, so it's less space for Russian forces to get through. Why will they do this in the north? What does Russia do in retaliation? Well, they started an offensive like this. And with Chinese forces leaving some lands to defend there, they started coming in here. And there's no way of gaining this back, basically. Logistically, China's idea failed. Now their plan is to take out the government and put in a pro-Russian one. And they encircle Beijing. They almost take Beijing, but with the first battle being big failure with all these forces being captured, which is like 50,000. They reevaluate and decide to come in here and here in a thicker front line. And they decide to start a front line in the back to protect these front lines, which they create an encirclement. And these forces in the back become a thick one. And they take out Beijing for once and for all. And they do this. They've replaced the government of China with a pro-Russian government, but luckily the government of China fled. With China under immense pressure after they lose the Shandong Peninsula to put a pro-Russian government in. Eventually they just come to the treaty. And they disagree with changing government, which Russia kind of doesn't care. They just basically reunite Korea up here. And then they decide to give themselves these lands. Make Korea an ally. But at this moment, when the peace treaty is made official, Chinese people are unhappy about this. And they decide to start a counteroffensive. And they say that Russia will not take our country, basically. But Russia comes up with a genius idea, which actually works. Nobody expects it. They get down to here and here, and they basically say to the Chinese people, we have a deal. We won't change your government, but we'll take the North as a puppet. Which they have to agree to. They call it the Chinese Federation. And why is it called that? Because it's now an ally put into this new pact that's created. With China in a crisis mode, at a breaking point. But they want to just take back their lands. Likely they'll get an imperialist leader. But Russia then says, yeah, I'm making the League of Russian Republics. And the League of Russian Republics, the Russian states, includes Korea and the Chinese Federation. Now they get Bulgaria to join. And Serbia joins. And basically, Afghanistan says, yeah, we'll join. And that's pretty much all for today's wild mapping video. Please like and subscribe. That's all for today's wild mapping video. Please like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 150 Jan 1st, which is not going to happen, but I'm just trying to because we got to 100 early, so I see if we could get to 150, which we probably can. Doesn't mean it'll happen if we can. And please like and subscribe. That's all for today's video. Wild Mapper out!